This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a dialogue on innovative technology for people's welfare. The participants are Professor M.P. Srivastava, Delhi University, and Dinesh C. Sharma, Senior Journalist.
Today, the 101st session of the Indian Science Congress has begun in Jammu. As the tradition is there, the Prime Minister inaugurated and made an inaugural speech, whereby he sort of touched upon the various initiatives which have been taken up in the past 10 years in field of science and technology, education, research and engineering. For example, he lists of number of new institutes which have come up, like Indian Institute of Technologies have come up, Indian Institute of Science, Education, Research, IISCRs have come up. In the field of research also number of additions have been made. Funding for universities has gone up. So sort of he gave an overall picture of the progress which Indian science has made in the past 10 years. But still there are a number of issues. But I suppose these are points where we need to ponder that where Indian science has come so far and where it needs to go. When we do that, we have to look at the science education is one part, and scientific research which is happening in universities, as well as scientific departments and conglomerates like CSIR, ICMR, all these institutes which are under these councils. That's another component of science and technology. So, Professor Srivastava, what do you feel that there has been a lot of institution building in the past 10 years, so to say?
Well, I think institution building is one aspect, but I think we do lack the manpower. The manpower at the highest level is very difficult, and it is difficult to get the really dedicated people at the moment. And most of the institution of higher learning lack this. Roughly 60% faculty is doing the job pre-2000 when there were full faculty, and that is the strength. The number of seats were increased, but simultaneously it has not gone up for the faculty because quantum jump now in terms of number of institutions coming up. And therefore the faculty is one of the major thing which has to come up. I think the INSPIRE program of Department of Science Technology may help in some areas, but university system of higher education requires almost all disciplines, and that is in education, in law, in economics, sciences. You do require people in every area. That will take some time, I think.
INSPIRE scheme has been a success, as the Prime Minister also said, that it has rewarded more than 1 million children and generated over 400 patent-grade innovations from the young people, which is quite an achievement. And also he mentioned that enrollment ratios at the higher education level have gone up, but like as you pointed out, the faculty part is there, like even most IITs there is a shortage of faculty. Universities also there is a shortage of faculty which we need to address.
As I told you, I've been mentor for the Department of Science Technology for the INSPIRE program, and I have been to various centers. Their students are of 18 age group. They are really very vibrant. They are blowing with the new ideas. They will take time to reach to the stage that they can be hired as a faculty. Of course, there is also INSPIRE program, and there are some arresting of the people is taking place from going outside the country and serving them. But I think this situation is not to the satisfaction of the younger people, because younger people are blowing with the idea. And then INSPIRE program is only touching one particular area of the society, that is science and technology, which is of course responsible for the development. But then you do require, this whole planet Earth requires people in law, people in education, people in economics, people in all business management. So all these discipline has to come up, and the real bright minds are to be dragged into this system. This is still a challenge for other areas, I would say.
Yeah, certainly. Research, another major initiative which the Prime Minister mentioned was that the funding mechanism in the form of National Science and Engineering Research Board, which was modeled after the NSF of US, has finally become operational. It was announced a few years back, then there were some problems. And coupled with that is also the issue of funding for science. And this was the 10th Science Congress which the Prime Minister has addressed, and several times before he has mentioned that we need to increase the R&D funding from less than 1% to about 2% of GDP. This time what he mentioned was that it's not necessary that all the funding comes from the government. And the private sector also has to contribute, and which is where we are lacking. I think the government funding has gone up substantially if we have seen in the past 10-15 years.
You see, I am also FICCI IT member, and we are trying to see this part, because from the academia side, I'm trying to interact with the industry people. And it is necessary. Any developed country has good fraction of the community which is private funding, and this is almost negligible or almost absent, I would say that, in this country. Whereas in Japan or Korea or even US and Europe, many of the major funding, I think there is a major private funding of many research projects. So the actually societal problems come through that and they are handled accordingly. This is lacking in this country. Scene is changing because there was a time we were having at Delhi University, we introduced the system of university-industry interaction. But that was only taking place, but it was in real terms. There were no research projects were coming. People were coming and discussing with the academia, but now there is some kind of vibrant interaction going on, and it may result in a decade's time. But the funding is still a problem by the private people. So unless it is made almost out of the profits they earn, some percentage should be earmarked for research funding in every organization, the level of industries. Then only it will be possible.
There is a talk about the part of money which will be set aside for CSR, corporate social responsibility, to be diverted for...
Corporate social responsibility up till now has not spent any amount for research funding. They may be doing in pharmaceuticals, they may be doing in some areas, but there are huge area of where the common man impacts with the physical world, and that is where we are totally lacking. I think there are research which are necessary, architectural engineering. For example, the sunlight is one of the good thing in this kind of environment like India. But most of the buildings do require, during the daytime, you have the illumination is being done, heating is being done by artificially. So these can be avoided. I would say that, for example, in street lighting, there should be light emitting diodes which should be put all through, and corresponding houses which should be built should be able to have the architectural engineers trained in a manner that they make use of the sunlight more in their building, the design construction. And also, for example, the water. We waste a lot of water in the areas which we develop. We try to waste a lot of water in flushing, and that's a good quality water. So I think those centers of urban areas should at least have two water connections. One untreated and one should be treated water. And the treated water should be only for drinking purpose. The untreated water can be used for gardening or for flushing or for anything, or we should switch over to the dry toilets type of system, which is eco-friendly. So all these things require some change in the thought process, in the mental thinking.
You mentioned about the academia and industry linkage. Then industry has to link to the economy, and economy links to the common people. That's where all these issues come up, because some of these linkages there are gaps. Of course, some projects might be there where industry is working to improve its own products or processes or quality or whatever. That's not a very larger picture that emerges out of such, cooperation between industry and academia. Also, the research as such is not focused towards some of the problems which you mentioned, which are the basic problems of a large country like India, like drinking water or access to electricity in any part of the country. These are the basic issues whereby technologies might exist in some lab, but they are not scalable, they are not commercially viable. So we need to bridge this gap between the availability of technology and the needs of people.
I think innovation as such doesn't require additional research. The existing knowledge which is there, how it can be best made use of. For example, external security, internal security. This can be handled through only waves. If you have a detector system like that, which only so it becomes invisible. So the security problem is totally solved. Similarly, for example, CCTV we try to see. We saw in Bombay there was some ATM machine was broken and things of that kind. Unless that is hooked up with the proper places where the action part follows. The data is there, but the data is not connected. I told this thing that unless you provide such data to the place, a police station or a commando force, the terrorist activity, you cannot take quick action.
No,
for example, any accident takes place here, and in the West I have seen, within very short time, the entire police maps the entire area and puts the person who has met accident to the hospital. without bothering about the legal aspects of all those things. So I think some integration is necessary, and that integration is there. Piecemeal work is there, but there is no integration of the entire system process, and that is needed.
You need to join the dots, basically.
Yes. And similarly, for example, the nano era which is coming, which will totally change the technology in almost, it will touch aerospace, optical, electronic, automobile, machine tools, surgical instrument, all these areas are going to be touched, including your security, the internal external security, as well as the corresponding things will also change your other processes which are also necessary. And we should, for example, try to have driverless vehicles. We can design vehicles with only 2 persons. Why it is occupying the whole road? Right. So there are many issues involved in which we do not have to do research. It is the willpower. But what is important is that the industry is trying to purchase the corresponding technology which may be existing elsewhere and trying to fit in here. But evolve technology which is sustainable or cheaper and need-based.
The Science, Technology and Innovation Policy of 2013, which was brought last year, whereby so far earlier we had the Science Policy Resolution, then we had the Technology Policy, and this time we have added Innovation also. Yes. So there is some move done. Then we have the National Innovation Council, and lot of paraphernalia has been built around innovation. Then there is a lot of funding going, but somehow that it doesn't seem to take off. As you said, that technologies exist. It is just the innovative application of existing technologies. Nobody needs to do basic research. Of course, you continue doing so that you have a next generation of system and next level.
That is emerging technology is different between nanotechnology. Yeah. For example, earlier we used to have in electronics and computing, what we were having a walls, and there used to be a big hall, air-conditioned hall for maintaining that thing. But now we have reduced to almost a palm area, and we will still go down. So what we are able to do with the bulk, we are able to do now with the very thin films, and then we are trying to go with a few hundred atoms, which is the nano era, and few hundred to 1,000 atoms, and maybe single atom. That is ultimate. So all the process can be done. The power requirement goes down. So conservation of energy is very important. We are also equally wasting the energy which is there. So this has to be somehow integrated policy is needed.
Yeah. And also we need to go into mission mode. Like during the 80s we had these technology missions where there were very well-defined goals that, you need to reach out to villages which don't have any sources of water. The drinking water mission, there was an oil seeds mission, and there were several other missions. Now, of course, we are talking of high technology missions, supercomputing mission which the Prime Minister announced today, or the meteorology mission, the monsoon mission. We need to improve further predictability of monsoon. So there are a number of new initiatives are on the cards, but we discussed, and also it was touched in the Prime Minister's speech, which is also the theme of the Science Congress this time, that how do you apply innovation for the welfare of people, and that's a big challenge, I suppose.
First of all, I think the innovation for the common people is houses which are necessary with the sunlight, solar energy, or maybe in the region, in the coastal region, it could be a wind energy. We should tap that first and then go over to nuclear or other areas of thermal or something other form of energy. So water harvesting is very much necessary.
So these are the small incremental innovations which we need to do so that the ultimate goal of
there are already prototypes existing, but it has to be multiplied. So a policy is
that's right. So that we can connect science with society and people's welfare. So on that note, we conclude today's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a dialogue on innovative technology for people's welfare. The participants are Professor M.P. Srivastava, Delhi University, and Dinesh C. Sharma, Senior Journalist. It came to you in the program News Analysis, produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.